Stories from my time as a family law attorney. Wow. I have some really fucking amazing stories from my time as a family law attorney. None of which will I be repeating uh, publicly on social media. Okay, but I have two stories I can tell you. Um, this was long ago when it was either while I was still in law school or I had just started practicing. I was working in Mansfield, Ohio. I was working with my mom. She was also an attorney. She had her own firm. And we had, well, my mom had a client. I can't remember what the case was. I think it was a court appointed case that we were representing this woman on. And she, I'm trying to figure out the correct way that I can phrase this. She was not of higher economic status. I'll put it that way. And if you know anything about Mansfield, Ohio, but this woman came busting into our office one day, and we were representing her on one case, and she came in and let us know that she had a potential second case that she was interested in having our office represent her on. From what I gathered, it was a defamation case, slander, defamation, libel. It was in that wheelhouse. And the crux of it is that she had gotten into a disagreement with one of her neighbors. And she came into our office. She was very animated. She was very worked up. Said that she wanted to sue one of her neighbors. And we were like, well, what happened? What happened? And she was like, my neighbor told everybody that I am a slut and a dog fucker, and I am not a slut. And we were like, and? So then there was another time, it was shortly after I had first started practicing law. And in Mansfield, Ohio, the county that I was working in, they did not have a public defender's office. What you could do as an attorney, you could get on the court appointed list, and you could do that for misdemeanors, and you could do that for felonies. And the local bar association would assign cases out for misdemeanors and felonies, and they would pay. They'd pay you, I don't know, like 30% of what your normal hourly rate was. But as a brand new attorney, it was a very good way for me to get trial experience and learn how to do criminal law. And so I was on the court appointed list for like 6 counties near where I lived, and including Ashland and Bucyrus and Richland County, Knox County. Well, I'm trying to remember the names. There was a county above us that included Sandusky, like Cedar Point, but it was a whole bunch of counties. And I was court appointed to represent a woman who was already in the county jail. She'd had a prior felony sentence, and then she was out on probation. She had a probation violation, and so they brought her back into the jail, and I was representing her on a probation violation. And she, I never learned the full circumstances behind this, but she collected other people's hair and kept it in a sock, and so she had a sock full of other people's hair while she was in the county jail being held for her probation violation. And so the hearing came up for her probation violation, and they would, it was kind of a cattle call thing, you know, they'd schedule like 30 or 40 people for their probation violations, and as the attorney, it's like you just had to go, and you know, your client who was in custody would be sitting in the jury box, because that's where they kept the inmates and the prisoners. And you would just have to wait for the judge to call your case. And I'm looking through the file, and I'm going over the facts and all of this stuff. And I saw my client's name, and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Okay. And, you know, so I'm standing in front of the jury box. I'm kind of having a little conversation with my client before the judge called her case. And when the judge called her case, he yelled out her name. And so I'm standing there, and I was kind of paying attention to the judge, because you don't want to miss it when the judge calls your client's name. And I knew what my client's name was, and I was just kind of waiting for the judge to yell out my client's name, which eventually he did. It's like he's flipping through paperwork and he's looking at his docket, and he's talking to his clerk, and he's like, all right, what's the next case? That's the next case. That's the next case. Okay. And the judge goes, Anita Beaver. Because that was my client's name. Anita Beaver. And I'm trying so fucking hard to keep a straight face, man. I'd been an attorney for like 3 months, and here I am standing in front of a judge in a packed courtroom, and the judge is yelling out the name of my client, and my client's name was Anita Beaver. Yeah, so I should really make an effort to go back and try to remember all of these stories. The stories from when I first got started, when I was still working as a brand new attorney in Mansfield, Ohio. Holy shit balls, man. And it's like, so he's yelling Anita Beaver from the bench, and I'm looking at my client, and you know, she holds up her sock full of hair and goes, I'm ready. It was a sock full of other people's hair. Yeah. Oh, man.